Thrill Seekers. That was It's Not Right by the F Models. It was the B side of their single God Fearing Man. One of my favorite songs. The F Models were a band who were active in the early 80s in Kent, Ohio when I went to college. So I knew the guys in the band, and I even lived at the famous F Model house for a while. But that bass part has always been difficult for me, so I challenged myself and I learned it, and I presented it to you. So today's question from the people who ask questions was something along the lines of, I am studying Zen and simultaneously involved in a Tibetan Buddhist group, and I have a chance, I think the person said, to take initiation in both of them. I think to become a monk in Zen or some kind of initiation in the Tibetan group, and whether I should try to do these things simultaneously or just pick one or the other. This is a variation on a question I am often asked about doing Zen along with other spiritual practices. And my standard answer to this is always pick one. Just pick one and do that. Now, in Dogen's Shobo Genzo, in a chapter called Bendoa, which is translated by my teacher as, let me make this right, A Talk About Pursuing the Truth, Bendoa, very famous essay by Dogen. There's a little Q&A section, and I did a paraphrase of this in my book, Don't Be a Jerk, in which I called this Dogen's FAQ. And one of the questions is there nothing to prevent a person who practices this zazen from also performing mantra and quiet reflection practices? So he's saying mantra and quiet reflection practices as kind of a stand-in for a lot of other spiritual practices that might be available. And here's what Dogen says. When I was in China, I heard the true essence of the teachings from a true master. He said that he had never heard that any of the patriarchs, the ancestors, the Buddhist ancestors, who received the authentic transmission of the Buddha seal ever performed such practices additionally in the Western heavens, aka India, or in the Eastern lands, aka China and Japan, in the past or in the present. Certainly, unless we devote ourselves to one thing, we will not attain complete wisdom. So that's how he answers it, and that's kind of how I answer it too. So it's not that these other practices are bad or that they're forbidden to people who do zazen or something like that, or that they're evil and wicked and should be shunned and blah blah blah. It's not that kind of religious dogmatic answer. It's more like if you want to really work at this one thing, work at it. The thing about zazen is it's a whole thing. You know, it's not just the sitting practice that you do 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night. It is a whole ball of things, of practices and things that go along with it. And if you want to hear what some of those are, just look at my other videos. I've done tons and tons of videos about this, about the precepts and about the other things that go along with it. And one of the aspects of zazen is a kind of continual immersion into it. So it's being quiet, doing this goalless, non-goal seeking activity over and over and over again, and getting really deeply into it. If you were to do other practices, for example, some Tibetan visualization practices or mantra meditation or whatever, alongside that, well, you could probably divide the day up into, I'll do 20 minutes of zazen and then 20 minutes of visualization and whatever, and you do these other things. It's going to kind of get in the way of the zazen. So if you want to do zazen, I would recommend you do zazen. If you want to do visualizations, I would recommend you do visualizations. If you want to do mantras, but don't try to mix them up. Now, that having been said, there's nothing wrong with learning about those practices. I have talked often on this video channel about how I have been studying Nisargadatta Maharaj, especially in the other Vedanta teachers recently, and getting really into trying to understand their point of view of things. Now, I will say that I didn't do this until I'd been practicing Zazen for 38 years or something. I didn't try to get deeply into it. I read these things from time to time, but when I was with, especially when I was with Nishijima Roshi in Japan, I just went for the Zazen. I didn't go for anything else. And so there's nothing wrong with just learning about those practices. There's nothing wrong with occasionally doing them or anything. I mean, it's all up to you what you want to do. But if you want to do Zazen, the point is to do Zazen and not mix it up with other things, because when you mix it up with other things, you get some kind of, you know, mixed up practice. You get something that's kind of a mishmash. One of the problems with this often is that people will take what they like best out of each practice, which on the surface might not seem like a bad idea, but often it means taking what doesn't challenge you from each practice. So you go for the thing that doesn't challenge you in this practice and the thing that doesn't challenge you, and then you have this nice comfortable conglomerate of things, but you never get challenged, you never get pushed. I mean, one of the reasons that I'm doing these bass guitar intros to these videos lately is to challenge and push myself in terms of bass guitar. I pick pieces that are difficult. I picked that one today, It's Not Right by the F Models, because for years, I'd loved that song for years because it came out when I was in high school, I guess, and I bought it right after, and it was a single by a local group who I used to see and whose members, especially Bill Farrell, I knew pretty well, but that bass part by Steve Richter was always too hard for me, and so if I ever played the song, I would just play the root, you know, instead of. It's important, though, to challenge yourself if you want to get better at something, and if you do a meditation practice avoiding all the challenges and only going for the stuff that's comfortable for you, you're not going to, I don't even like to use the word progress, but you're not going to make much progress in your meditation practice if you do that. So my recommendation is always to just do the one practice. And Dogen was really into this idea of doing one practice exclusively and devoting oneself to that alone. And I think I'm going to cut it short today because this noise and stuff is just not going to stop. So I think that's enough. I think just do one practice and do it thoroughly is my recommendation for you. So there you go. If you want to contribute to me doing more of these videos, you can go to the URL you are seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main and usually only ways of making a living, so I appreciate your support, but as always, this is offered for free, so you don't gotta donate if you don't want to donate. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. There's your best friend. You better bark at him. Yeah. Ooh, he's coming. Maybe he's gonna get you.
Pasó, sigue.